Take it away, guys.
I don't believe you. I don't know what is in the water with teams here today. Just going, aha, we're going to run this thing that we're not going to run. It's like, no, Fried. No, you're not running Symmetra. That's right.
Yeah. This time around, though, LNL, they're going to be running Fried instead of Nex, who they were running in that spot last week. We have Sombra's out for both sides. I wasn't able to quite see who got that hack off, though.
Early hack coming out here. Reach moving forward. And Reach is going to be thrown back. So we do have the Sombra v Sombra setup. And LNL, they just have to decide how do they challenge this here in this situation. Meanwhile, Panker catches Reach out, going to be forcing him to translocate out of the fight. And look, you see the tank dominance. Oh, Kevster hacked in the back. Theresa, where you going to go? You're going nowhere. Meanwhile, the Legion, it's just simple. They outposition, they get people on the point first, they get the early progress, and what do? You leave LNL struggling to get back in. Your Diva's gonna get demaxed, no one's looking at Corey, and it's an easy take here for the Legion.
Yeah, Gladiators just played that perfectly. It was the bait and switch, right? You have Kevster trying to get in, try and challenge and poke down those tanks, but Blase is just waiting that entire time with that Sombra for the hack. Once your Tracer goes down, you are lacking so much damage, especially because your other DPS is Reach on the Sombra. And so with that, Gladiators Legion holding on to it already, 16% secured for them now. As they push forward, Blase was detected for just a second, but he's now trying to get the hack off. Did he get it onto the Winston? No, he did not, but still, it doesn't matter. They got the DMAC. Gods takes out Fried.
It's a really rough engage from LNL there, where they kind of went in one by one. They gave a Legion a really nice setup. Dummy's going to find himself taking the trip into the brink. And LNL, they're going to hit the issue that many teams face when they go in the Legion, is that how to get good engage. And the answer is, well, you have to make sure that you outmaneuver your Pankers and Gods of the world.
And this is going to be so difficult for LNL because Reach hasn't been able to get the damage off. Remember, this is the new Sombra. She does not get EMP charge off of hacked health packs. So he's only at 75% now. Rolf is going to be free to do whatever he wants. Pulse Bomb comes out, but it got eaten.
It was eaten in the moment. Kevster overcommitted, made that very telegraphed. Reach loses the Sombra v Sombra in the back. And Legion, look at the power they have ult-wise here, and they don't necessarily even have to invest much into it. Pook's under pressure, gonna be able to shake it. Blase still holding on to the EMP. But LNL has lost this fight so convincingly, they're not even making the Legion pull out their pocketbook right now.
Yeah, it was just the Transcendence and ultimately the self-destruct used by Gods just to get himself back into mech. But now we're coming down to what could be the last fight for LNL here on the points. Reach, struggling to get that EMP, will have it for this fight, but he's got to plan it perfectly. He's got to use it as soon as Pooks uses that sound barrier.
LNL, last opportunity here. Reach, almost gets drilled down. Corey, very close. Meanwhile, Decot was focused out, got hacked and disabled by Gods. Corey's just going to disengage a little bit, gets hacked, but he has an escape route. There's the barrier coming out for Legion. Pooks was hiding the entire time and was to neutralize the EMP. Still, it's 2 kills for LNL, and yet it's Corey coming in with cleanup. Uncontested tac visor setting up Pooks, and this is very good for the Legion. Pooks going wild at the end, and LNL looking like they weren't really able to do much at all in this first round.
Yep, so Lighthouse goes in the favor of the Legion here, who were able to just control the battlefield the entire time. Blase had a run of things on that Sombra, was barely getting challenged. On the opposite end, Reach was just having difficulty building up that EMP. And so we'll see if he sticks with it. We are onto Ruins. This is a map where teams do like to run that Sombra. Reach is going to stick with it. The only change being on the Gladiator side, Corey is now going over to that Widowmaker.
Now, this is a path to victory for LNL, where, to a degree, you're isolating part of the game to this one-on-one Widow v Widow matchup, where it can be framed that way at points. So it's sort of in Reach's power here. Can you outplay Corey in this Widow battle? And from what we've seen, Corey should have a bit of an edge, but you never quite know till it happens.
So Blase is the only Sombra on the field now. So we'll look to him to take control over the left-hand side, that mega health pack, which is going to make it difficult for Decod and Fried to try and hold close. It's going to allow Gladiators a little bit more room to be able to push up now.
Corey looking for his counterpart. This is clearly designated as more anti-Widow in a safe spot from a Tracer. Not easy for a Tracer to pressure at that angle. And the Legion, they're so much further forward than LNL right now. LNL gonna have to try and struggle to come back over. Sure, they have Kevster on the point, but you look at where everyone's positioned. Legion have already pushed LNL into a corner, and Kevster pays for being that far up. Ends up getting caught by Panker off a leap towards the end. And the Legion just easily take this first point.
Yeah, we got to see Legion be more proactive because, of course, they had the controlled health pack. The tanks could rely upon it. They needed extra health. And that's why Reach was getting focused down. We saw Panker was on top of him. He was forced to use a grapple hook. But there we go. He starts it off. Corey has fallen.
And that's what they needed. That's a one-way LNL can get back in. But DCOD gets blown up immediately. LNL still kind of streams in one by one. And they leave DCOD to get ripped to shreds by the Legion frontline. And they don't take good advantage of the pick which Reach got early on.
So Corey is now back into this as Reach is just struggling to try and find the health pack. Corey over the top takes out Fried. And Reach does answer on the opposite side, but Kevster, oh man, he has not been able to find anything so far with this Tracer.
And this is the issue, right? When Gladiators lost to Toronto, as Corey goes off again. When Gladiators lost to Toronto, they did so in large part because Toronto's DPS and Dalton and Nero were playing really well. We can't really expect that level from Kevster in this, or Reach in this scenario. We haven't seen that level of play, and if they can't bring that, it's very difficult to work around the superior tank frontline of the Legion.
Yeah, Panker just staying alive, being able to just stay aggressive with this. Winston now DCOD found his way into the back, and with the help of Reach, Rolf has fallen down. Corey forced all the way back now, but Reach starting to get pressured. Panker with the Primal Rage. It's gonna bat him all the way into spawn, but that creates more than enough space. There we go, Kevster is able to take out Pooks, and now it looks like LNL might be able to win out this fight and flip the points, but the Legion have secured so much.
Panker rolls back in, ends up dying. Got two, but end of it, LNL able to get onto the point, but they've lost their margin for error. One fight from the Legion should be it.
Should be it indeed. Blase has the EMP for this next fight. So Dummy is going to be quick on that trigger finger. He has to be careful. Ajax also has that sound barrier, so both of them could get shut down here. The timing is going to be crucial coming out from the supports of LNLs for this hold.
Corey looking for his counterpart. Widow v Widow action on display. Blase holding on to the EMP. The EMP here, of course, could be a very easy key to victory. You're going to see Blase coming around the left side. Got cut out for a second, waiting for his opportunity. Lands the raw hack, but now does he have a setup for the EMP? He's going to blink back. The rest of the Legion just kind of waiting, but they've put themselves in the point even before the EMP has come in. You see Corey in the back applying pressure. DCOD already gone, and this could be the victory EMP coming out from Blase if it's decided to be needed. With Corey getting taken down, this is the time to look for that. Blase's under pressure though. He's not in the best position, and he falls! Reach outperforming expectations, keeping LNL in this.
Sound barrier now for LNL as they want to desperately hold on to the point. Rolf gets the DMAC onto Fried as the self-destruct comes out. Rolf will finish off Fried, but he gives his life over for that Panker now with the Primal Rage. Thinks he sees something. It was Ajax in his sights who was able to finish him off, and now they're fighting back into this, but Kevster has made his way back on in. Corey has fallen, but oh no, Panker with the triple kill.
Panker out of nowhere, a phrase that's used far too often. Kevster gets hacked, just carefully running for his life, but no, the Legion were able to recapturing all this. LNL must move back immediately. They have no support ultimates to back this up. Neither does the Legion. Reach has outperformed versus Corey here so far. Reach can win that Widow duel one more time. With the recon site that's currently in progress, that might be enough to put this back. LNL, they take the point. The Legion let it go, and the Legion aren't like close to another ult here, so it's a little bit strange.
Fried is about to get DMAC'd, and so Reach once again starts it off. Pooks is gone.
Pooks out of the fight. Reach again outperforming, but Panker was able to set things up. Both tanks outplay for LNL, and here comes the Legion back the other way. Corey might be down, but the rest of the Legion is up. They are going to control space on the point. It's going to be in overtime now, and how long can Kevster delay when he's dead? The answer is not long at all, 0.
So with that, the Legion will walk away with a 2-0 victory here on Ilios.
We saw a lot of kind of, all day today, we've been seeing a lot of kind of unchallenged threats, and that was no difference in this with Legion's Blase and Corey just kind of having a field day.
Well, they had a field day up until Ruins, and once
Yeah.
you got into Ruins, I thought Reach was doing an admirable job and actually countering it just a bit. The issue that you had there, though, is that over and over again, you'd see DCOD come in, and what was the most common thing you'd see? It's like, oh, here's Gods. Micro missiles, dead. It was this very good tank v tank play coming in from Panker, coming in from Gods, and even when someone like Reach would get an early pickoff, where again, I think he overperformed relative to what we expected and what we've seen, it wasn't enough.
Yeah, we have some footage here now. This is Corey's Widowmaker. Widowmaker has been a strong choice for him kind of throughout this entire season, and today's game shows no chance of him slowing down with it.
Yeah, I mean, it did go a bit back and forth between the two Widowmakers, Reach and Corey, both able to tag the opposing Widowmaker there. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, it was Panker who was able to just do so much. He was surviving almost, I don't know, 80% of the engages, and he was going really far with it. I mean, we saw he actually chased Reach all the way back to spawn with the Primal Rage, and you can't allow a Winston that kind of freedom.
I just imagine him on voice comms being like, guys, I go deep. It's like, wait, Panker, why are you at their spot? It's like, well, I need to kill a Widow.
Yeah.
I told you.
Kill a bug.
So another thing that I kept noticing throughout both Ruins and when we move, or Ruins and our first point. Sorry, I'm new at this. You guys have names for everything, and I just know them as the whole map themselves. So the first point and the second point. The stagger control, which has been historic for the Legion, they've always been good at staggering and controlling the stagger for the other team. So when they do come to respawn, it's like you guys said, they trickle in one at a time, and they never give them the opportunity to come all at once and face a full frontal attack from them.
That's definitely true, and the other aspect, though, to it as well is that LNL was also just pitching them softballs, where the tanks were going all in at the same time, and you look back at the results, you see DCOD go in, DCOD goes out, and trying to bring a fight back when you're down to Winston, it's not particularly easy. So overall, in terms of the control game, the Legion were on a different level from LNL here, and it's not really surprised. We have multiple weeks of game tape on these teams right now. It's kind of what we expected coming in.
Yeah, it's also just a lot of control coming out from Blase, who was on that Sombra, and then, of course, Panker on that Winston that gave them so much information. And you have to remember the passive coming out from Sombra. You're allowed to see opponents through walls if they're damaged. And so Panker just has an easy time of trying to prioritize whichever target he wants to.
Now, we are heading into Hollywood. This is the first time we've seen this today, so we're moving into Hollywood. This was Panker's playground the last time we saw him on this.
It was, and it's a little bit uncharacteristic, where I still think if you're playing against a team whose strongest ability is in their tank play, you do bring them to Hollywood. You bring them to Hollywood second because it's one area where you can sort of win things on your flanking DPS more so than your tank play relative to many other maps. But there's nothing here, even with Reach outperforming to have been Ruins, I'm not sure that there's a particular weak point that you're going to get from LNL in the situation. They're very much fighting upstream, and they're going to need more people to kind of perform like Reach in the moment, unexpected performances to have a shot of bringing this one back.
And yeah, we know Kefster can have a little bit of a ramp time with this Tracer play in particular, so we'll see if he starts waking up here, but this is where you do want to wake up. This is a Tracer playground. Once you get into second, there are so many different corridors and avenues of approach for that Tracer to get into the back line, where it's going to be more difficult for Panker to try and keep up with someone like a Tracer.
So you're saying that if there were to be any kind of a weak spot to exploit with Gladiators, which we really haven't seen much of that in general in this series, but especially in tonight's gameplay, it would be to see if we can get a Tracer to break through and at least distract Panker from the rest of the group.
Right, they're going to have to ask next level performances out of their flanking DPS. You have to do the Toronto playbook, right? You need to have Dalton and Narrow level performances, but it's going to be difficult.
Right. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and head on into game. We're taking it to Hollywood. Currently, Gladiators lead 1-0.
Hello? Anyone out there?
In Hollywood, and we get to look at the defense here from Legion, which is fairly standard for a first point. Of course, it's going to be Blase on the Junkrat in the back, protected by the Theresa and Gods, forever on the Diva.
Yeah, a very defensive setup, even though Gods could go over to the Roadhog if he wants to. They just want to make sure that Blase and Corey can succeed here. Now, again, it is Panker on the Theresa, so this is a point where LNL can try and exceed the expectations. They can try and take advantage of Pinker's lack of mobility now. They are going to be pushing in from the left-hand side. Corey dropped low, but he has backed away to the safety of his team. Now Kevster, with that Tracer, it looks like he wants to try and approach from a different angle than the rest of his team.
L&L, for now, taking a slower approach. They do not immediately deep dive into the cafe. They still have everyone very much up and alive in the circumstance. Reach coming in from the skies, looking to get into the cafe, but Legion right now, they're able to get Dummy in the back. It was Corey off the flank. It's a nice early pickoff. L&L already in a whole heap of trouble, and they just go reset, but the halt brings Reach back, and yet he's still able to get out in the end.
He will survive for now, but that's still just a lot of damage coming on out. Corey almost has his pulse bomb. He's at 78%. Blase hasn't been able to get that much damage off. He's only at 50% towards his rip tire. And so it's just been mostly Corey now getting the damage, but we'll see. Reach, once again, with that Genji on the high ground, not being contested quite yet. They're trying to find this dive, but they have to find it when the halt is down, and that's not a great way to start off.
You can't lose the Tracer-on-Tracer battle. Sure, Corey was getting helped out by the Mercy in the fray, but look at all the time this buys the Legion, and more importantly, time equals ult percentage. Now it's a lot more likely you deal with the tire if Blase can just clip a few people on the way in.
Oddly, luckily for L&L, not so much poke has gone across that Rolf has been able to build up his Transcendence. So, as Reach has his blade, he pulls it out. He's already taken Rolf down.
Rolf out of the fight immediately. Reach looking for more. Gets pokes. Both supports out of the fight. Reach, this is the performance that's needed out of him in the situation, but Gods is pulling it back. It's a tank line of the Legion. Note that Panker's already out of it. It is literally just Gods and Corey in the back working it, and yet, have they done enough? They had to back out just a bit.
It's going to be a regroup coming out, but Gods is there. He is poised to jump on in. 2 ticks given on over, but they are not ready to give up the point quite yet. Corey is there. They're going to go ahead and pop that Valkyrie to get into this fight, forcing out Dummy's Transcendence.
And even if they lose the fight, it's worthwhile because they got that. And ooh, tire view in the sky. Blase dancing, moving, connects, gets through 2 in the back. And that's really good because you saw Decod going down at the same time. Legion does something that isn't done very often, which is retaking first on the brink.
Riptire in the sky, I can frag twice as high. It was great Blase coming in. I mean, it was just, you know, Gladiators understanding how much they can give up here up against L&L. We're able to come back in. Take a look at how close it was, 89.7%. It all started off with Reach, who had a great blade now. No, the ultimates are going to be reset. Decod coming in. He's got a sound barrier, but the only thing backing it up is going to be the Primal Rage for Decod.
Decod can be a little bit more aggressive. He can jump into the cafe because he has a Primal Rage. No, you can't lose Reach early on. Reach takes a bomb to the face to begin with. The fall through is Tracer in the back. And was that pulse bomb deflected? I'm not quite sure, but you see Corey coming back in the other side. Now, Legion moving in from the left. Decod got rid of the supercharger early on, but the Legion, you see Gods. He uses self-destruct early. He's going to be reback, but oh, Decod in back! Just pummeling in the cafe! It's going to be enough for L&L. Finally, they pierce on through. This should be them bringing this back. We do have a tire, but unless it killed 4 people, it just wouldn't be enough.
Yeah, all he got was the mech off of that. Corey's trying his best to keep this alive, but sorry, Corey. Oh, possibly. Now they're pushing forward. Blase's back into this fight. He does have, of course, that Transcendence keeping him topped off right now. They are getting presence onto the points. Contested is so close. Blase is able to take out Dummy. Even takes out Ajax. They're losing out now. No sustain on the point as we head into overtime.
Legion was so far gone here. Respawn's coming in. Reach about to have a blade, but this has turned into a fight when it should have been a slaughter. Reach pulls out the blade. 2 of his teammates down. What is Reach going to be able to do here? Corey with the pulse bomb on the other side. And Legion actually bringing this back when they were down to a whim and a prayer from Rolf that emanated from him in Transcendence. Overtime ticking down 95.6%, and you're done.
Rolf and Blase taking that back from the brink for the Legion. They were so close to losing that point, but the Transcendence allows that Junkrat to step out just a bit, create more angles for himself, and get the damage off, taking out both Ajax and Dummy. That is huge.
Anyone out there?
It's huge. It's good play from the Legion, and yet, as a professional Overwatch team, there are situations that you should be able to take, and if you don't take, no amount of good play from the other team should be removing that from you, and that was a situation there where L&L should have been able to lock that down. They had a huge numerical advantage on the point, All they had to do was just hold back, punish Rulf after the Transcendence, and yet they ended up being a little bit out of position. They put themselves in a spot where respawns could come in and kill, pick off a person here, pick off a person there, and they let the Legion climb the mountain bit by bit and get back into that fight. And now they're stuck in a situation where unless they get a full hold here on point A, they're not going to be taking the map. And the Legion, of course, will be pretty close to taking the series as a whole, which LNL can't afford. LNL is likely out of the playoffs if they are not able to take the series.
Yeah, not just out of the playoffs, but within the relegation realm. Remember, the bottom 2 teams from each group will be sent down to Contenders trials, which will take place a few months from now as Open Division wraps up. You don't want to be in that relegation spot. LNL fought their way up through the Open Division, through Contenders trials, just to get here. Now, they're on the verge of getting sent back down. Legion on the offense. They are going to go for a full dive composition, 2-2-2 LNL. They want more damage, and so instead of running Orisa Diva, it's got the Orisa Hog, while Kefster will be picking up that McCree.
And it's going to be up to Fried here to contain Panker. That is his main job. If he had a job description, roles, abilities, etc., it goes contain Panker, hook Winston, deal with him. Panker can leap in here, protected by gods all the way. Discord or bottom. Dummy. It's a nice knife on Pooks, and it's not going to deter the Legion. You see Panker leaping over the top. Blaze's right there with them. They turn this cafe into a bloodbath right now. Lattes spilled everywhere as the Legion have potentially made this push work already.
That was just beautiful awareness coming out from Panker. Now they are contained inside the cafe. That allows him to just burn them all down. 1 tick, 2 ticks, gods with the triple, and with that, they're going to try their best to try and stall this out, but the recall has already been used. Kefster has gone and cleaned up. That's going to be the Legion taking the second map here on Hollywood.
That was very quick. Didn't seem like they had much of a chance there with last night's leftovers against the Legion. They got dominated.
I mean, ZP was right? We wanted to see Panker contained, and that's what the Roadhog was there for. But Panker, as soon as he saw that the Roadhog was on the low ground, he jumps instantly up. And he knows that he doesn't have to worry about, the junk gun just shredding him. He's able to just stay in there and have absolute free reign.
And the issue there, too, is that Blaze was ready to jump in with Panker, and the people that were on the top found themselves at the receiving end of the ever-classic Winston-Genji combo. You had people fall in the beginning. Fried was never able to even consider getting a good hook that would have caught someone. In theory, I like the idea for the defense. In execution, it simply did not work.
Well, Roadhog's junker friend, he showed a bit of promise on this one. Blaze coming out with the tire, and really, this was the beginning of the end.
It was, and think about how this was set up here. LNL had clearly gotten a much better engage on Legion. They got the first few early pickoffs. All they had to do was simply not feed a few extra people, contain the respawns coming in one by one, and what happens? You let Blaze do this to you. You let a Junkrat just mow through the people that are coming back in, and you let the Legion off the hook. And in the end, you don't even get an attempt to get in the second because you blew your chance to capture first. So
what would last night's leftovers needed to have done? We talked about they needed to kind of contain Panker, but it wasn't just Panker as the sole threat.
Well, one of the things there, the startup for that amazing fight that took place that somehow Gladiators were able to come back from was that Reach started off with the Blade, right? But the mark of a great Genji, of the greatest Genjis, is that they set themselves up for continuing success. The thing is, he cornered himself out. As he got into the back line, he found himself contained. He was in the back. He was basically in between the cafe and the defensive spawn there, cornered by the Tracer, and he wasn't able to continue on into that fight. If he could have positioned himself better with with his dash resets and he stayed in the fight, then that might have been the difference maker for them to actually take point A.
The other thing, too, is that once you get a few men advantage, there's sort of something that offenses do, which they probably should in most cases, that people get a little bit bloodthirsty, where they go, oh, I'm going to go in deeper. I'm going to chase these kills even more. But when you do that, you open yourself up to, instead of having a nice 5-on-3 or otherwise on the point, you're suddenly isolating a person and you're allowing the other team to get maybe a 2-on-2, which is more winnable, which lets them get that first kill, which can snowball into 2 and 3 and actually bring things back. There does come a point, especially for first points, where you get control of the point, you get a few early picks, and you make the other team have to pull you off the point rather than just going crazy and trying to finish people off, because that's where you run into trouble.
And that's exactly where Gladiators took advantage. We are going to go ahead and go to commercial. We are at our halfway mark with these maps. It is 2-0 for Gladiators, and hopefully we can come back and see if we can get last night's leftovers on the board. Stay tuned.